Hello and welcome to this video to an SEO Press setup in WordPress. This is what the SEO Press website looks like right now, and you can get SEO Press for $49 per year for unlimited websites. I'm not an affiliate of SEO Press. I just like the plugin and I think their development team and pricing is quite good, so I'm happy to support them. Let's dive right into my test website here. Hi-Fi Direct, and I will show you on the back end how you can set up WordPress. Now, one thing to realize is this will differ whether you have an e-commerce website or a local blog or a local business type of website. So it would be good if you can be clear on that. However, a little bit of theory up front. What we don't want is to have category pages indexed in search results. So that's something we would take care of during the setup, because these don't contain any unique text or content. And we also don't want tags to be indexed. Both in blog kind of setup pages and in e-commerce, you can use tags and categories. The only time when you want categories is if it says in the URL, usually product category. That's when it's a page that has unique content that can actually be ranked. But everything else in WordPress that says category and tags, usually you want to keep out of search results, because it will reduce the amount of pages that Google needs to crawl, and you don't want to send Google to pages that should not be in search results. So let's hop in here into the backend now. All right, what you want to do is make sure that you have SEO Press Pro installed. I'm not sure exactly on what comes with Pro, but I guess we can click here and review the Pro features. So you get redirections, you can monitor the 404s, robots.txt setup, which is definitely something that I am using, and HTTP access setup. This is your security themes or security plugins will write some stuff into it. That HTTP access file, breadcrumbs, and so on. So make sure that you've got the Pro version. There's some good stuff in there. Particularly the robots.txt is important. HTTP access also important to be able to look at that. And then RSS feeds as well. So we'll start right here in the Pro section where we are here. Let's start at the bottom. You can completely ignore white label. This is just to be fancy if you want to pretend that this plugin was not built by SEO Press. So we start with RSS, and what you want to do here is to click remove feed link in source code, remove feed link in URL, disable RSS feed, and disable all. So you're ticking all of these boxes. What that does is that it removes any links to RSS URLs inside of the source code of your website. If you don't understand what that means, don't worry about it. It basically makes sure that Google won't visit pages that they don't need to visit. So URL rewriting, you can leave that off. You would need to have some very specific reasons for that. Dublin core, turn that to on. It just adds extra meta tags, which are these ones here, DC title to it. It's basically like you have a second page title. So it's it could be a slight ranking factor. I would leave it on. Google News is only there if you want to appear in Google News, meaning you want your website to be Google News approved. It is a good idea because that can get you instant indexing. And for that, you would need to turn this RSS feed stuff back on. But if you don't plan to be a news site, then you can leave this off. Google Search Console, feel free to look at connecting GSC. I don't think it needs to be done here though, so we'll leave that for now. We'll focus mainly on the technical aspects for now. These WooCommerce settings are important. And I should have said at the beginning, if you have somebody who can give you their file to import, that's also a good idea. So it is possible to import other people's SEO Press settings, and that would tick these boxes here automatically. So that's another option. But here on the WooCommerce side of things, again, depending if you have an e-commerce site or not, you might need to go in here and set these. For the cart page, you want that to be no index. because nobody needs to access the cart page from the search results, right? Same with the checkout page. And this is fine here to add Open Graph price attributes. Open Graph is just something similar to schema or page titles, essentially. This would be shown on social media platforms. They usually use Open Graph. So you can leave that and leave these two unticked. So basically tick everything up to here, up to WooCommerce, and then down here, leave these unticked. Breadcrumbs are a good idea to enable. You would need to check in your theme if those are showing correctly or not. Let me see on my side if I can give you the example for breadcrumbs. Yes, I can. So up here you can see the breadcrumbs, and then you can also test them with schema.org validator to see if Google is reading the schema part of the breadcrumbs. What we're looking at here is the HTML part right now. All right, so AI, I believe this is AI writing. I've never used that, but it's pretty cool that you can. If you want to write page titles with AI, feel free to turn that on. I always leave the schema part off because I custom write the schema. So I would turn this off, but if you're not in the mood to write custom schema, by any means, you can turn that on and use this schema. I would say any schema, like if you're a local business, any schema is better than no schema. So if you don't have the capability to write custom schema, do turn that on and fill it out here. I will show you one other way how you can get schema in there. I believe that's under advanced. It's under schemas, of course, here. There you go, and you can create schemas here and add that there, and then say where that should show. So you can say, show the schema under this post or page. So if you have a schema that should show on all products, for example, then you could do that. And you could then make that a product schema type and fill out all of the things here. There is also a custom schema option where you would put the schema code in there. That's the one that I use. So I usually use this method, but feel free to customize it how you want it. And then you can also say per post ID. So what I do usually is I grab the post ID of a page, find out what that is. Let me go in here and do that as an example. So the About Us page here. Let's see, right, if you just hover over the edit in the bottom right, you probably can't see this, but if you just copy this link here, this tells me that it has the post equals 103. So now I know the post ID of that page is 103 just by coming over the edit and copying that. And then if I jump back into the schema, now I could write 103, and then goes my custom schema goes in here. And that's it, basically. You just need your custom schema pre-written for that to work. Cool, but we were just finishing up here under advanced. No, under pro we were finishing up. We'll have a look at advanced in a second. Right, so keep that off. htaccess, you should have some sort of security plugin that wants to write something in there. So if this is empty, I would suggest to you to check if there is a security plugin, and if not, install that. But for SEO purposes, there's nothing we are going to do with the htaccess file. You could set up redirects through this to say if this URL is visited, then redirect to that other one. That can be done via htaccess, but there's also a separate redirect module here, so we won't really touch that. This is an important file, and this is what my robots.txt file looks like. One thing to note with any robots.txt file is if you are coming into the website to work with the website after a few months later after it's already been launched, deploying the robots.txt file will basically block Google from certain folders, such as we're saying here, don't visit the tag page. But if the tag page was previously set to do index, now you're setting it to no index, and you're also blocking Google here through this from visiting the tag page. Now the last information that Google had about the tag page is that it was do index. And because you're blocking Google, it can't check and find that it's no index. So that's an important consideration when working with any robots.txt file, that you first give Google the chance to discover that new status, or you could use the bulk removal tool in Search Console, which we won't go in now, but you can tell Google, hey, I want to remove anything that starts with tag and then the asterisk says anything after the tag as well. So if you have tag test, that would be included by just having this asterisk. And you can do that via Google Search Console, but it's a bit outside of this setup video here, but important to mention, I think. All right, data types. So because this is another schema type, I also turn this off. So under structured data types, you make sure that this is turned on, because otherwise this schema box would disappear at the bottom here and you can't do your custom schema anymore. Redirections, I do think it's a good idea to monitor and log the 404 errors that you are getting. So let's turn on 404 monitoring. This just means if somebody visits a page that doesn't exist, you can view that in your error logs, and it's a good idea to monitor that to see either if Google bot goes in there in any 404 pages or users. So let's click Save Changes there. Apart from that, there shouldn't be anything else that you need to check. These ones here should be fine. Now let's go into, what are we feeling like? We're probably feeling like advanced. So first we've completed the Pro setup. Now we go into advanced. This one here is important to keep this checked. This relates to the Yoast SEO bug, if you are aware of that, where the images all were indexed in search results. I mean, the cleaning of media files, if you have a language like, it looks like, if you have a different language, you can turn this on, but shouldn't often be used. Use target keyword, automatically set the caption, description. So this is saying when uploading an image file, automatically set alt text. So this would be the preferred settings here, and the title as well. So I would turn all of them on actually. The only one that you might want to think about are the captions, because that's the part that actually visibly shows below the image. It might not work well with your theme, so you can remove the captions if you want to. But the other ones are good to mention, to keep on, because having some title tag for your image and having some alt tag is better than none, right? So if you follow the best practices of naming the image files, meaning if you want to rank for breast implants in Sydney, you would name it breast dash implants dash Sydney, maybe dash before and after if that's what it is, .jpg. And what these check marks now do, because we set it to on, it will take the file name here and set my image alt tag automatically to breast implant Sydney without me having to do anything. So make sure you do the first step right of getting the image file name correct, and then your image alt tags will also be correct. All right. You have to flash your product category. So for e-commerce, you have to be very careful whenever it's about any changes to product URLs. So you need to, before you actually save this setting here, make sure you look into what your current product category URLs are. For example, if it's something like product category and then Nike shoe, you want to make sure that after you change any settings that it's still the same, because whenever you change any URLs, it's important to keep track of those changes, because the URL is like an address that Google knows about your site, and they should never change. So I will say leave it as it is essentially. Don't make any changes here unless you feel you need to change the URL structure for some reason. But apart from that, you can leave these as they are. The other ones are also fine to leave as they are. This one here, remove WordPress generator meta tag. I do like that one because it's also showing potentially hackers what version your WordPress is running on. So tick that one. Remove entry post class, yes. Remove author URL. In most comments, yes. In most cases. Remove website field, yep. RSD short links. So here it's just about links that will show in your source code, meaning your source code is something like that. The more links you have in there, the more stuff there is that Google can get lost on. So having this manifest stuff XML, even a browser might go in there and find nothing helpful, and you want Google's bot to visit the most helpful pages. That's why we are removing most of this stuff from there. Oh, embed links. This will prevent other blogs from embedding. Depending on whether you want to embed your own website, you could also tick that, which will apparently prevent other blogs from embedding your site. I like to sometimes embed my site for SEO purposes, so I'll leave that on. Ping back, I've got no opinion on that. Showing the PHP version is not a good idea, again, due to hacking, so I'll tick that on. This pingback is supposed to help security, so let's leave that on. So those would be the settings that I would roll with here. I'll show you the settings on this page because it's quite convoluted again. And we will also try what happens to our product pages here real quick as we go. So let's see, categories first. So we've got a category called amplifiers with 4 products in it. And we can view that. And the category is just amplifiers, so it doesn't have product category in there right now. I think that's what this actually refers to, the setting that we looked at previously. This one here, remove product category from permalinks. Now we tick this and we're going to visit this page again. Let's see if it still works. All right, that still works. All right, so I had to actually flush the permalinks in order to make that, in order to update that. I believe now the new one would be product-category and then amplifiers. So it's essentially adding just the product category stuff to there. My suggestion would probably to leave it as, what would I do? I would probably make it something shorter. I would call it just category probably. In Shopify, it's called collection. That also works. I just like to have shorter URLs. So you could even just make it a C. The reason why I like to potentially still have the C in there, or the category, is because it makes it easier for reporting. So if you wanted to know how much money you've made from just your category pages, you could create a filter in Google Analytics and just filter for that. However, it's also fine for SEO purposes to just do this. Again, it's even cleaner URLs and less folders for Google to get stuck on. So I'd probably be fine just to set it up like that. But we now wanted to test if this URL now works after we changed our SEO Press setting, and it does. So now we know what this setting here does. Once we tick that, this URL, I should say this is the default. The bottom one here with product category is the default in WordPress. However, once we tick this, it removes this part and it now just becomes /amplifiers or whatever word you have there. Again, don't do this if you're working with a client or with a website that's already ranking, that already got traffic. Only make these changes if you're working with a completely new website that has 0 visitors and so on, because as soon as Google knows, this is the product category amplifiers, Google knows this version, the bottom version, at that point you really shouldn't change it, because it's going to confuse Google and you need to set redirects and it just complicates everything. That's why my original advice is whatever is set there and whatever your URLs are, don't change that. All right. Now, XML and HTML sitemaps, they are important, and you can see here that we have set up the XML sitemaps. You want to enable that. And this is also important to get right, because you need to include the correct things here. The posts are your blog articles. These need to be ticked. Your pages are your pages, like your homepage, your About Us page, and your products are your products. So they all need to be ticked. Media you want to untick. And then here you want to also untick the tags and the categories, but you want to enable these, the product categories. The tags, again, are the ones that don't have unique content on them, and the same for the categories, but the product categories do. So the product category, again, is the amplifier section. That one we do want included in our sitemap. Now, I hope I can show you here the difference. So here you can see category, DAC, and if we look at the page title, it just says DAC. It doesn't have any specific descriptions there. And the same for tags. These are also useless. So make sure that you're only selecting here under the taxonomies area. If you have an e-commerce website, you select product categories only and nothing else. Cool. HTML sitemap, also a good idea. The way you set that up is you copy this shortcode, you create a new page, pop that shortcode in, and then you're done. Pop that in. So now we're looking at the HTML sitemap. It's important that you do a double check here. What posts do you expect to have essentially on your WordPress website? Are these all the posts that should appear, aka blog articles? If yes, then perfect. Your job's done then in regards to posts. What products do you expect? Are these all of the products? And then here are the categories. So do all of the categories also appear in there? Cool. So that's the setup part based on the sitemaps. Now it is very important to also go into the title and meta section. In fact, we should have probably started there, to be fair, but it doesn't matter what order you do it in necessarily. So here, the most important sections that you want to look out for are these two boxes here, the no index and no follow. No index, no follow. No index means you won't show it in search engines. No follow means that it will show, but any links that are pointing out from the page are set to no follow. So basically the no index part, you only want to enable that. Let me make that bigger. You only want to enable that for pages where you want to block Google. You don't want to show that in search results, such as your cart page or your checkout page, your thank you page. If you're redirecting people, those are not pages that you should show to a search engine. That's where you want to enable the no index. And you rarely would need to tick the no follow, but on something like a cart page, it's a good idea to do that. Or on search results pages inside of your own website if you have a search function. So let's look here, our posts. These are articles that we're writing. We definitely want to show those in search engines. So there's nothing we need to tick here. Same for pages. That's like our homepage, our About Us page. Nothing we need to tick here. And then for products, again, we want to show those in search results. So nothing we need to tick here. You could set up some kind of template for what the post title will be, but usually I recommend setting page titles manually. That's why I don't even worry about changing this part here. Archives, this is where it gets more interesting. So it does give you a link here to show you the different pages. And the rule is whenever you're not targeting any keyword, then you set it to no index. So this one is the title products. Who's going to search products if they want to find these audio products? Then they're not going to type in products, so therefore this should be no index. That's correct. So the next one that we have here are author archive. They also should be set to no index, because an author archive is just a page that lists all of the articles that the person has written. In most cases, I like to set them to no index, because you often have authors on your WordPress website who are not even contributing actively. They're just like a user, right? But WordPress still sets them up as an author. So you don't want to have all of these archives indexed in search results, which really don't have any unique content. So remove that. Date archives do not show. And that's it for the archive pages. Now we go into taxonomies. So this is stuff like your category. This one here, we will also want to no index, and then tags also no index. So the category is not the category as you think about it for product categories. It's just normal kind of WordPress categories as they come default. Here is now the product category, and that one should be indexed. Tags no index. Product bundles, I don't see how that would be a unique URL, so I will no index that and no index all of these other ones here as well. Twitter, yep, no index that, and then no index this too. So in simple terms, you only want your pages, your products, and your blog posts. Those are the main things that will get traffic, right? Because if you're not working on it actively, then how is it going to get traffic? And look, the only exception here now, so I should say for regular business websites, it's this, pages and blog posts. And then if you have e-commerce, then it's products and product categories. All right. And apart from that, nothing should really need to be indexed, because again, this is where all your work goes, to your pages, like explaining your products, perhaps your partnerships, your About Us page, your blog posts where you write about the latest fashion trends or whatever you want, product categories like summer dresses, skirts and so on. That needs to be indexed. And then the product itself, which could be a blue skirt or a short skirt, those ones are the ones that need to be indexed. Nothing else really needs to be indexed. So I think thinking about it in that way makes it a lot easier, because I understand all of these options can be quite confusing. One cool thing here about, so these ones you can leave as they are. One cool thing about this tool is if you go into settings, and then inside of settings you go general, and you basically no index this whole site, which could happen by accident as well. I should go reading. So settings and reading is where you can set WordPress to do index or no index. So you tick this button to no index the whole site. It will now show you a big red warning. You can see here, this is super cool because I've literally taken on SEO clients who had their whole website no indexed for a whole year without knowing it. So now at least if somebody is silly enough to tick this button, you have a big red warning, which is pretty cool. So let's untick that and finish up with a few things that are not SEO Press related, but that I like to do. If you have the chance to start with a new website, I like to simplify the structure here for images by unticking this. So I'm not putting them into month and year based folders. Again, simpler URLs equals better rankings. And there were a few other reasons why Google could get confused, because sometimes if you have in the URL 2017 March or something like that, and then image.jpg, In some cases, Google would think that the article was published during that date. So better to remove this from the URL, which is what we're doing here by unticking that. However, it won't change the old images. So anything that you've uploaded yesterday won't change. Only the new images that you upload after will change. So that's a good one to check. And we have a quick look here into permalinks as well. So this is where you could change, if you wanted to, the product category slugs and the product tags. But again, the same thing applies if you're working with an established website. You should absolutely not change anything there. Cool. I think we've got a pretty good setup here now. Let me see if I have forgotten anything in there. So we've set up our titles. We've set up XML sitemaps. Under Pro, we've covered all of the settings. Under Advanced, we covered everything. I won't go into redirections too much. That's a whole video in itself. I will say quickly that you can import settings here. So you can go to import plugin settings. That's an important one. If you have the correct settings on one website already, then you can first export them here and then import them into the new site. If you have currently Yoast SEO and you're migrating, then you can use this function and you simply migrate now. And that should be it. As simple as that. As always, after you're done with your settings, it's good to clear all the cache, like purge the cache, probably save the permalinks, and then crawl with Screaming Frog or a similar tool to make sure that all of the do index and no index settings are exactly what you want them to be like. And particularly check your pages, your blog posts, your products and product categories manually to make sure that you're happy with all of those settings. Perfect. I hope this video into SEO Press setup was helpful. I know we've gone a bit fast, but you can go back to any section that you need to revisit. Thank you. This was Mark from Ecom Experts.